We live.
Yep.
Let's get cracking, man. Good afternoon. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. What's happening?
Hey, another beautiful day in great sunny state of Michigan. So it's
Hmm.
Sunday. Today, what, August the 9th?
Yep.
Um, Today we gonna get on our soapbox and of course talk about a couple of things. We always like to get input from our listeners. Shout out to everybody out there listening to us today. But as usual, before we get started, Dan, give us a breakdown on how our listeners can get in touch with us.
Well, they can reach us on our 1-800 number. We are Athena Protection Service, first of all. And you can give us a call at 800-951-4866. It's 1-800-951-4866. Website is still under construction. Hopefully, we'll have that up in the next couple of weeks. Or you can reach us on any social media platform at Athena Protection Service.
Awesome. And I took a quick peek at what was being worked on the website, and I think it's going to be awesome. So looking forward to sharing that with everyone real soon here. So again, we usually start off the podcast updating on the corona here in Michigan. And Dan, do you have those numbers today?
I do. We are sitting at 87,000, just over 87,000 cases for Michigan. Our death rate is going up. It's about 2 per day, but about 514 cases per day. Still we seeing a lot of growth in, people being infected, but the death rate is still low. Total deaths for Michigan is at 6,249. The country as a whole cracked 5 million cases this week, and we are at about 162,000 cases or deaths for the country right now, for the entire United States.
Man, those some big numbers.
They are. I mean, something I think we probably should be looking at and concerned with a little bit based on, how we can start, completely opening things up and having the economy kind of back to where we needed to be. So things can kind of get back to where we were, or at least grow. But we can't grow if we are still limited in our accesses to businesses, and our accesses to travel and different things like that is kind of holding us down, so to speak.
Right. And with that being said, let's dive in. And first thing I'll inquire is, what do you think about? We're into the second week of August now. What do you think about kids here in Michigan going back to school,
Um,
in-person school, that is?
I think that's tough on parents out there that's dealing with, trying to cope with these schedules they got going on. Because I done heard a bunch of different variations of what parents may see. So, like, I've heard some schools are offering, you know, 3 days one week, 2 days the next week, and then in between, they're responsible for, taking care of the kids on
Oh
those off
wow.
days. So people got to work, and everybody not necessarily working from home. So, people kind of scrambling and trying to figure out what they need to do as far as getting their kids straight, so that they not at home alone, or, making sure they got the necessary transportation to get them to and from where they need to be. And also, we, on top of that, dealing with the threat of, the kid contracting COVID of some kind of, and bringing it home from school. So that's
Okay.
another issue, people probably tackling, right now, and or concerned about as schools getting ready to open up to some capacity. And I think, again, I would say my concern is like some of these things that kids learn, like we necessarily, wasn't taught, like math, we wasn't taught the way they was taught. So, how is a parent supposed to relay a math lesson to a kid that they themselves haven't learned? So what resources are they putting out, for the parents to be able to, pass this information to their kids where they can, learn and retain it?
Right. Interesting. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted here. First time being back on the laptop doing the podcast. Man, to put my 2 cents in on it, I'm just really concerned with the kids going back because it's not a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So the safety is the big issue and concern for me more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So just the fact that, they're saying that the kids are less likely to get the virus. And I get that. And it's like, what about the parents that, got to take the kids to school that may have underlying health concerns? We talked about it before. Or even the teachers, they say, well, substitute. We think that every teacher is just going to be on board with this, especially substitute teachers who, tend to be part-time.
Mm-hmm.
Think they're going to just be on board with it and everybody's just going to be readily available, because if 2-3 teachers get sick in one school, that would be pretty tough. So have to think about what's going to happen when we have these hiccups. So just really interesting that, it's even being considered. My heart goes out to the parents that have to, go through this right now. And I, really hope that everything continues to, you make the right decision for you and your family. And, your safety is most definitely my number one concern. So I can't fault a parent either way. I know me personally, I would have to say I would not send my child back to in-person school right now.
So let me ask you this, because we seeing this a lot, right? So you got people sending their kids to all these birthday parties and shit like that, and kids, they out partying and going in all these different places, but then there's this like strict rule on kids going to school. What's your take on that?
Well, and a good point, because right now I wouldn't have a huge gathering with any kids. I call them the germiest people I know. They pass stuff on. So yeah, I would have to say I understand that question, and I can see it from 2 ways. The first way I see it is, typically with kids and the germs that they're passing on, in general, it's colds. Maybe the flu. It's not something that, people are having to be put on respirators and passing away from. Like I was looking at it earlier today, most of the cases, they feel like the kids aren't, being affected by it. It's such a small percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, well, with that being said, I still feel like, the COVID is more of a concern than the other things that people would be concerned with kids getting, just bringing home from school. Cause like I said, it's typically just colds and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, if you are taking your kid around a bunch of other kids partying and doing stuff like that, still having gatherings, I would raise an eye at that and be like, I don't know if that's a smart thing to do right now under the current condition. And what's really interesting on the flip side to it is we don't know the long-term effect of this particular virus. We don't know what it's going to do to people that had it. We don't know what it's going to do to, the immune system. We seen the symptoms go from just being a cough to people couldn't smell and taste no more. So we don't know what it's going to be like long term. We don't know what the vaccine that they're going to try to get everybody to take. We don't know what the reaction is going to be long term on that. They're doing their studies. Realistically, if I think they started testing, they're doing it here locally at Henry Ford. They're testing people with, these trials. I wouldn't be comfortable with what the results are from these trials. I mean, I would need 6 months to a year
Mm-hmm.
to see what happened. I mean, we all didn't. I'm telling my age here, but the movie The Jerk, when Steve Martin's character created those sunglass holders, and it was just easy to put them on and take them off. After wearing those bad boys for so long, you got cross-eyed.
Mhm.
Well, he made millions of dollars in the first few weeks of selling them, and he lost it all plus some. So, and I say that to, of course, not to take light of the subject we on, but just to say, hey, it's so much we don't know yet.
Yeah.
For people who are just saying that people are, and I'm sorry if I'm going off the rail here, but people are making comments about decisions that people are making out here, and we're gonna get into a little more detail. But how dare you judge them for being nervous about what none of us can tell is going to be our future?
Right.
And hopefully, I answered that question without getting off sidetrack too much.
Yeah, you got down to it.
I think that people should, back to the original question, I think people
Mhm.
should really be careful about having their kids in any type of gatherings right now, whether it's going back to school or some birthday party or going to a pool. I would really be concerned about kids in the pool right now.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm with
So,
you. I'll say no on the school right now and continue
of
to
course,
do the distance learning and get parents the necessary resources they need, to pass that information to kids as best they can after they get whatever video chats they get from their teachers.
and even with that, that's going to be a challenge because we talk about that so effortlessly. Say that fast 3 times, but I'm just sitting here and thinking about it. So many kids are, the underprivileged kids. That's going to be a struggle for them as well. They're not going to have access to the internet in some cases, or even a computer or a cell phone to be able to do the online training. So the kids have already been out of school way longer than they should have been. In some cases, kids did get opportunity to do some online training, but for the kids that don't have that and won't have access to that, we need to figure out a way for those funds that, at one point government was talking about maybe not giving to the schools, taking those funds and making sure that every kid has access to, the internet in the home so that they can do their schoolwork. But the next thing, on the same street, what do you think about the unemployment situation? Because we just had the benefits, the additional government assistance, along with the state assistance, was getting some people as much as $900 a week in unemployment. And
Mm-hmm.
as of July the 31st, 600 of those dollars were no longer available, and unemployment nearing the end as well.
I think that's going to hurt some people. Um, some people rely on that money and they are responsible with that money as to take care of the necessities that they have. So I think it's important that they continue those benefits for people that are out of work not because of their own doing. So some people in some industries just can't go back to work yet still. So they need those benefits to be continued. And then to take money out of their pocket, I just think that's I don't think that's right because people work, and when you out of work because of circumstances outside of your control, you earn that the right to have that money presented to you, and especially in a case like this, I think they should be getting what they was getting. Ain't no reason to cut it because when we saw corporations lose tons of money in 2008, they kicked them deals far better than they gave the average citizen. So I don't think that they should be cutting money out of people's pockets right now when people out here struggling. I completely disagree.
Most definitely agree with you. But the naysayers or the other side, they say things like, if there's plenty jobs out there, people don't want to take them. They're just lazy. What do you
It
think
is
about that?
it is a lot of jobs out there, but everybody can't do every job. If you never drove a high-low before, you can't go make $12 driving a high-low. It don't work like that. Or if you got kids and you stuck, homeschooling or something right now, or you gotta, have your kids at home, then you necessarily can't go to work if you're the only parent in the house, or you got to try to find something you can do online, or try to find somebody that can watch your kids. It's a bunch of variables that come into that. And I don't think people, are lazy. I think people want to make a certain amount of money, to be able to live on. And if you can't go out and get a $14 job right now, you can make that much money on unemployment. So what make more sense? Go and make less money away from your kids with somebody watching them. You don't necessarily want them, in places where you may not want them, or try to wait out the pandemic and collect your unemployment check. I think that's, it come from I don't know what kind of position, or what kind of position people in, or where they judge somebody else because, they can't make a certain amount of money. That money that they making, that's on unemployment, that's about $12 an hour. So that's a decent job out here right now. Like you may or may not walk into a job at $12 an hour. Minimum wage, I think, is somewhere in the $9 and some change.
Now, when you say about with the current unemployment benefits,
Yeah,
yeah, it's actually more like about 14.50, almost 15.
yeah, you're not walking in a job at $15 an hour.
Exactly.
That's not happening right now. If you unskilled and you live in a community where jobs are limited, you ain't making $15 in the door. That's just not happening. So the question is, why are we going to go to work when we can make this money? Especially when it ain't my fault, I'm not at work. I'm just waiting to go back to the job I had. In some cases, people just waiting to go back to where they were.
And like you said, a ton of variables. But I would also put in there the people who are just outright concerned about their safety and their health going back into the workplace, because we know even when you talk about your smaller industries, the intentions are well. When people started first going back to work, I feel that they were doing a lot of testing, getting temperatures and making sure there were hand sanitizer and all these type of things were in place, and they were on top of it. But within a few weeks, you would see those things start to slowly
Mm-hmm.
go by the wayside. And I just laughed. I was at the gas station, and I go to the same gas station for the most part all the time. And when they first, started letting people get back out, I was happy because you go to the gas station and there would be hand sanitizer there, for you to be able to sanitize your hands, because that was pretty much all we were doing, is trying to go grocery shop, keep fuel in your vehicle. So the gas station being someplace that, would be a concern for passing on germs. So many people touching a, gas station pump. And I go there now and I haven't seen hand sanitizer available at the gas station in the last month. So people are being realistic in their thoughts about just rushing back to work, when they know that they may have safety issues, or I shouldn't say health issues,
Right.
because of things not being done like they're supposed to be. We know people will cut corners. That's just a reality of life, to get things done. And I feel like the government is cutting corners right now. But I most definitely just would be concerned.
Right. So Tony say in Arizona, parents got the option to do online classes or send their kids to school in October. I guarantee you, some of these kids going to school, the people got to go to work, and they'll cross that bridge of the virus spreading when they get to it. And I think a lot of people got to make these kind of decisions about, their kids and the situations that they in, because people got to go to work, because bills got to be paid. And, people don't want to be on the street. Some people already been put out, even though they saying that, people
That's
can't
so
be evicted.
important.
Yeah, so it's people already that's been evicted, and they can't. I saw something on TV today where a girl was like already evicted and living in a hotel with her kids. So you don't want to leave your kids in a hotel. Like what kind of choices do you have? You put in a situation where you got to make these, dire kind of decisions with, especially with kids involved, and leaving them places, and your decision to go to work. That's tough. That's real tough to deal with, and I think they just putting people in a corner, and they forcing people to make, decisions they may not necessarily want to have to make.
Absolutely. Yeah, for you to hear it on social media, people getting on there ranting and fussing about people, and I would even say people, who I don't have a bunch of people that I follow on my personal social media that I don't know. So when people
Yeah.
on there, when I'm in conversations, it's with people who I've you know met in person over the years, and that's why we're share those sites together.
Yeah.
And I've even had debates with some of those people, that make comments that, the people are lazy and, don't want to come back to work. And, it was kind of interesting because I felt the same way as you. How dare you judge someone else? Their situation might be so much different from yours. So glad to, shed some light on that. And for people out there who are listening to this, don't be so quick to judge and think that it's just so black and white that you can go in and say, they hiring at that place. Let me just go back and go to work.
People in
I
privileged
see a lot
positions.
of restaurants and stuff that are hiring, and people are like, I don't want to work someplace where I got to deal with the public right now, especially when people want to have the arguments about, even something as simple as wearing a mask out in public. And fussing about it, to the public. You fussing about not wearing a mask to a room full of people or a lobby full of people that have on one. They don't want to hear that crap. So, yes,
And
we
people,
have to understand that people just, everybody's situation not the same. The kids is a key point you brought up as well.
yeah, people in privileged positions have a habit of judging people that they don't understand, or even know the dynamics of what people going through that's on unemployment, because they not on unemployment. They don't know what it feels like, and they don't know, what those people are going through and how hard it is to be on unemployment and to have limited resources to get things like food or medicine, or not knowing, or not going to the doctor at a certain time because you got to save money to pay for medicine, or you got to save money to pay for that doctor's visit, and you trying to get your life in order. It ain't as easy as people think it is. And I think, stuff like that just require a reality check for people that they just won't understand unless they go through it. Because those are kind of people, you can't prove nothing to them, because the only person that can convince them is them. So it's really a waste of time almost when you encounter people like that online. I don't even entertain them, with responses a lot of times. Unless I just feel like babbling, then that's a different story.
Or just trying to maybe open their eyes and enlighten them. And speaking of enlightening someone, one of our listeners, a personal connection for me, was out of work during the pandemic, still out of work, and was collecting unemployment. Had some issues initially getting the unemployment, so there was some back pay due, and got a large sum of money. And one of the things we talk about, and we're known for talking about on our podcast, is investing in yourself, doing smart things, getting prepared for the future. And this individual reached out to me, and I have to keep it anonymous at this point because I haven't, talked to this person about sharing this with them. So I'll just leave it at that. But took advantage of, getting that lump sum of money, looked at their current credit score, reached out and got some assistance to get some things taken care of, some old things cleared up. long story short, got the credit score up really nice, and it's not one of those scam type of things. Just
Mhm.
credit was okay, but wanted it to be a little bit better.
Okay.
Took advantage of that, cleaned up the credit, um, was able to put some money into some other things that they were thinking about doing before, and had started their own business. And things seem to be, the product is something that, I think will be, good in the industry. Something that people will be able to most definitely use right now. But just for, shout out to people who are taking advantage of these opportunities when they've been sitting still with your brain kind of going, instead of
Mhm.
sitting there worrying. This individual said, you know what, how can I take this opportunity with it? And it wasn't a lot of money.
Mhm.
No, we're not talking about break the bank type of money they came into. They just were smart with it and had a plan and sacrifice. Because in most cases, we talk about individuals in that case would have probably went out and got a new vehicle or something like that,
Mhm.
but it wouldn't have been investing in something that's going to bring money in
Right.
moving forward. So just wanted to shout out and say, hey, people are, out there trying to make the best out of this. And I was happy that somebody that, listened to us and got on
Mhm.
track and started doing some things. So, for our listeners, we open to suggestions, input and everything. But our goal truly, as we've always said, is to, maybe give you another way to think about things, and most definitely get you to think about investing in yourself
Right.
and how easy it can be to do it. We still are looking for financial advisor type people to come on the show as well. So we'll most
So
definitely
let
continue
me
to push that.
let's turn some names over to them then. So first, if anybody watching us, if you don't know what your credit look like, you can go to annualcreditreport.com, and I'm gonna drop it in the comment section, and you can get your credit report for free. And all you got to do is put your information in, answer a couple questions about your credit, and you can get a free copy of your credit report that way. You don't have to sign up for any uh, program or anything like that. Just annualcreditreport.com. You can get a free credit report from each bureau off of that website every year.
And that's
If
where you want to start. Great
if,
point.
if you want your score, if you bank with most banks will give you your score for free. So you should just check the credit button. Usually somewhere, if you got a Chase or a Bank of America, or if you got any credit card, almost all of them will have some credit uh, option on the account where you can look at your score for free instead of having to,
The FICO score.
yeah, instead of having to join like something where you got to pay every month. You can do that for free as well. Um, Now, if you are in debt and you want to learn about somebody that teach about getting out of debt, Dave Ramsey is a good source to go to for starters. If you want to learn how to budget, if you want to learn how to, kill your debt, and you want to learn how to manage your money a little bit better, Dave Ramsey is a good option to start with. Dave Ramsey has a program you can usually get into for free called Financial Peace University, and it's usually done through churches. So if you have a church that's willing to host it, or you can go on his website and kind of figure out if there's a church in your community that's already has a manager of the course, you can get into Financial Peace University, and it'll cover um, debt, it'll cover budgeting properly, it'll cover investments and different orders of how you should save your money, having an emergency fund, having 6 month savings, and all of those different things. A lot of that stuff we hear about from Dave Ramsey. Um, if you are interested in investing, and let me just put his name in the comments real quick. That's Dave Ramsey. If you are interested in investing, Dr. Boyce Watkins is a finance major. He's a doctorate in finance. He
Okay.
teaches about investing, and his website is the Black Business School. In the Black Business School, he talks about getting your first stock and investing $5 a day. If you can't do $5 a day, then there's other options that you can do to put money into an investment account. And Dr. Boyce Watkins teaches, if you are shopping at Walmart and you are dedicated and love Walmart, you should probably own a share of Walmart stock. So that's where he kind of teach you where to start investing with companies you know. If you are a younger person watching this video, then there's a guy who goes by the name of the Wall Street Trapper. And the Wall Street Trapper had was, I think, he from New Orleans, a previous drug dealer, got in trouble and learned how to trade while he was in prison, and actually got out and was teaching other people how to trade stocks. And he's a value investor, so he trades on value. So he teaches, his courses teach you how to identify value in different companies, not just like doing day trading where you're trading every day. He's a long-term investor.
Okay.
That's somebody you can go to on social media for long-term investing, value trading. Just look up the Wall Street Trapper. And then if you want to day trade, there's a guy by the name of Tim Sykes. And Tim Sykes is in a day trading. And that's when you trade like the Wolf of Wall Street, like penny stocks and things like that. When you want to flip money, but you got to have money to do that. So I wouldn't sit here and tell people, if you don't have at least $10,000 to start penny stock trading with, stay away from it, because you'll lose money, or you won't make good returns if you don't have the capital to start off investing with. I would say $8,000 to $10,000 in an investment account.
Okay.
So, I'll drop all that stuff in the comment section if people want to look these people up and learn about what they do, what they represent, and the programs that they offer. All of those things are good for learning to invest. As people out here, their job is they put their time and their energy into teaching you how to be a better investor, or how to be a better saver, or how to budget and manage your money and different things like that. All of these things are affordable, and you're investing in yourself. So that's one way to look at it. If you getting any of these products from these people, you can reach out to them. They all have free platforms that you can watch their videos on. You can go to YouTube and watch them, or you can just invest in their products. I would always say watch them first and see if you like the way that they communicate and the messaging that they get across, and then go out and if you want to purchase something, then purchase something. If you don't, then don't. But
Exactly.
yeah.
But you want to get started. So great point. Something that I learned years ago, and it was pretty cool. And I'll just go over a quick example of how it works. And it's, this is just, you figuring out within a month how much you could trim out of, what your expenses are, if any, how much you could trim out of it. And I'm talking about, can you find an additional $25 to $50 a month that you could take out of your budget, your current budget that you're using to invest into killing your credit card debt, which is what most people get into bad credit with, or their credit score going low, is too much credit card debt. And basically, so we say save if you can, come up with an additional $50 a month. So most people go to lunch or breakfast. We know there's ways you can cut money out. So if you can come up with it, we'll just use a nice round number, $30, and you take. And I make this example really quick and fast. We'll say you got 5 credit cards. You take that credit card with the biggest balance on it, and you pay whatever you normally paid on it because you got a budget. And if you don't, that's something that, before I get into more detail, if you're not sitting down every month figuring out what you need to send out versus what comes in, then you're already behind the 8 ball. You know, you got to
Mhm.
sit down and do some basic planning. We're not trying to turn you into the Wolf of Wall Street overnight, but just sitting down and you can do it right now. How much do we spend on groceries? How much do we spend for utilities, house rent? You know, whatever you got to spend in a month. And I mean, be realistic with yourself. Don't forget about whatever your vice is. If it's, you know, you got to buy a case of beer every week or
Put it in the
whatever it
bucket.
is, you know, your cigarette money, your whole budget. Don't cheat yourself. You know, put it on the board, put it on the table, and know what it is. So once you got that figured out, that's where I say within that budget, where can you trim or
Hmm.
not even trim, but take away from to give yourself that extra $50, $30 to $50 a month.
Hmm.
Take those credit card bills. You say you got five of them, and you take those five credit card bills, whichever one has the highest balance, or even better yet, I won't even say the highest balance. I'll say the one with the highest interest rate. Let's
Hmm.
get real smart here. So you follow me? You done figured out an extra $30 to $50 in your monthly budget that you could move and do something to get you out of credit card debt or just help your credit scores we talk about. So credit card with the highest interest rate, whatever that amount of on there, you want to get that low under 50% of the total credit limit. And if preferably get it even lower. I'm not going to tell you you need to have zero balances on all your credit cards. That won't be realistic. If you got them, you probably using them to a degree. We take those ones with those high interest rates and you take that extra $50 and put that over and beyond what you would spend on that credit card payment every month. Take that extra $30, $50 and add it on to that and pay that bill like that faithfully until you get that credit card within a reasonable balance,
Hmm.
preferably at a under. If you can get it under 30%, that's good. Meaning that if you got $100 balance, you don't want to have more than $30 worth of credit being used on that card at a
Hmm.
time. You follow me so far? Once you do that and get that one straightened out, and of course you got to really cut back and try not to use these cards in order to get this score. But this is something that you can do realistically in 12 to 18 months and you continue this pattern. So now what you do, you've got that card taken care of. Say you get it down to a zero balance. Everything you was paying on that credit card plus that additional $50, now you take it and you attack the next credit card that you have, killing that interest rate or attacking that one with the
Right.
high interest rate.
That's what Dave Ramsey called a debt snowball.
Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
it's things that you can do. And I mean, me just explaining that, and I'm sorry if I was over a little sloppy in the explanation, but these are the type of things that doesn't take a bunch of money to do. It's the money that you're already spending. It's just how you're spending it is what's going to help you to get that scoring line because that score being as high as possible is power for you. And with that power, some of these courses that you talked about, Dan, from these individuals, now you're putting yourself in a situation where okay, you was able to squeeze $30 to $50 out of your budget to transfer it to getting your credit score in order over 12 to 18 months. Now
Mhm.
that you've got that credit score in order and you've saved some money because you cut down on those bills and paid them off, now you've got what you call buying power to be able to do things like invest into the stuff that
Mhm.
we're talking about. So for an individual that's listening and says, hey man, right now, you know, I barely getting through my budget. And I'm not talking about somebody that's you know, a millionaire or making
Mhm.
$35 an hour, which really don't matter because we all know no matter how much you make, you spend just that much plus some, right? It's the
Mhm.
American way. But my point is this, you know, anybody can do this on any level and get yourself, you'd be amazed at what you can do with that because that credit score is key in this country. It will
Right.
open up doors for you in so many ways.
I'll say this: Dave Ramsey teach that we should save $1,000 first before we start our debt snowball and all that. We should have $1,000 saved for emergency purposes because things happen and sometimes things cost more than 1,000. But if you got 1,000 there, it'll cut it'll cut from you having to depend on a credit card because you want to have that cash available to take care of these little issues that always will come up in life there's always going to be something that we got to spend a couple $100 on unexpectedly. It just happens. So having that $1,000 in place is good, so that we're not trying to lean on credit cards for money that we actually don't have, because that money come with interest and we end up paying way more than that 1,000 that we borrow from the credit card. Remember, you're borrowing money from credit card companies at about 28% or 24%, somewhere around. That's a high rate of return for them. And it's a monthly occurrence that's happening every time you don't pay that bill off. So it's important to have cash on hand and then start getting your credit card debt knocked out one credit card at a time. So keep those minimum payments going if you got a couple of cards, and bang out that one with the highest interest if that's the way you want to go about doing it.
Absolutely. If you realistically listen to this and say $1,000, if you don't get out of here.
You know what? The $1,000 is not difficult to get if you set a goal and work towards it, and you budget every dollar. So when you do a budget, every dollar that you make should be accounted for. So that means, like Carl told y'all, if you smoke cigarettes, it should be in your budget. If you like to blow $50 a month, put it in the budget and make sure every dollar is accounted for, because the last thing you want to do is say, what happened to that $50 I had? If you got a budget, you know what happened to it. It was in the blow fund. I blew that money on something while I was out. So, or if you got groceries, you spend a certain amount on groceries. And then that will make you start taking bottles to the grocery store if you got to, or clipping coupons if you got to. If you in a dire situation where you need to start cutting corners, you should be have a Sunday paper on hand, cutting coupons and getting discounts and different things like that.
Like that with the coupons, most of the stores, which I was just sitting there today,
or digital, you know what I'm saying?
right on these smart devices.
Yeah,
so no excuse not to save. I hear you on that.
Clip.
Those people with the restaurant eat, we talk about saving money. You know, for whatever reason, you have to deal with, say fast food for your lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've seen a couple of the apps where they have consistent deals available if you sign up for their app.
Right.
So, we trying to be realistic here, people, when we talk about these things, because we know, like I made a joke about the $1,000. You know what? Realistically, if there's not $1,000 you can do right now, start with $250.
Yeah, and work your way up.
Start with $300, but it's got to be something, and all you got to do is, like we said, look at your budget, because you'll be amazed at how much money we're not here to criticize how you spend your money. You can do that yourself when you sit down and look at every penny you spent for the month. If you do that, you'll make the judgment of yourself and your finances yourself. And trust me, we don't have to do it.
If you ain't looking at what you're spending, you'll shock yourself when you see what you're spending your money on.
Absolutely.
And you're not maintaining a structured budget in your life where you're directing where your money go and your money just flopping all over the place. I'm gonna tell y'all, I was not paying attention. I'm eating out, Candace eating out. Lunch, dinner sometimes. We might go out to eat.
Yep.
End of the month, $600 going out to eat.
When you calculated it out,
$600. I'm like, wait a minute, we messing up. We messing up.
As you start studying, you sounded like Looney Tunes.
Hey, this money, this money going to the wrong place. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, if I got $600 to do this, and I feel like I'm struggling somewhere else, I'm messing up. So that turns out to be discipline in your own life when you are spending a ridiculous amount of money in one place and you're struggling in another place to take care of something. Take a look at your bills and your situation and what you're spending money on. And I mean, from Christmas to birthdays, anniversaries, whatever it is you got in your life, you gotta, you buy your parents anniversary gifts, birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, whatever the case may be, it should be in your budget. And then you break it down for the year, you do one monthly, but then you have it broke down so you can spread that money out properly. So when they come up, you ain't got to go to the credit card to buy somebody something for their birthday, or you don't have to charge Christmas gifts if that's what you do. If you buy people stuff for Christmas, you already got that money there and accounted for.
It's a good point. And I just looked it up, 138 days away from Christmas, folks.
Yeah, and if you ain't been saving for Christmas already and you a Christmas shopper, you're gonna be in debt come January if because you done felt guilty and you hit Christmas time and you want to make everybody feel good. Hey, give them a phone call and a card. They'll still feel good. Have a meal with them. You know, you don't have to buy people stuff all the time, especially when you're trying to get yourself together. So,
because we talked about it on previous podcasts, is when we run the statewide stay home order.
mm-hmm.
You know, people realized that, yeah, it sucked that you had to stay at home, but we realized we was out there spending a lot of money that we necessarily didn't need to be spending. Or we could, I shouldn't say didn't need to be spending, but we could most definitely find ways to do a better job. You know, people were, you know, eating, you know, going to the grocery store more. And, you know, we get it, you know, once you get back to going back to work full time, a full day's work, you're not going to be able to come home and make dinner every night. But because of the pandemic and you had, you know, you didn't have no choice for those weeks or months, you know, try to put it in the budget as we go back to some sense of normalcy. Put it in the budget that, okay, at least 3 days out of the week, I'm still maintain, or make bigger portions of what you was doing before, right, and do a better job of prepping. Because that's what it ends up being. When we talk about, you know, I know people that work in the industry, manufacturing, you know, factory jobs and things of that nature. And I ain't talking about the big ones where, you know, some of the smaller subsidiaries, you know, or, you know, you work in, you know, just, you don't have a lot of time. You get, you know, a lot of these companies, you get a 30-minute break. Realistically, if it's 80 y'all going on break at the same time, you go in the break room, you want to heat up your prepared weekly meal. It ain't realistic for everybody to be able to heat up their meal in that time. So you have all these different variables as to why people choose to go to restaurants on their break. But if we do exactly what we're talking about, which is do a better prep, you start out with knowing what you're going to spend for the month, and then you look at how you're spending that money and really question yourself as to, is this the best way for me to be spending? And some people may not realize or know what we mean when we say that, so I'll break it down, because we're not here to try to tell people, you know, you can't do the things that you do that for, you know, whatever reason you're doing it. The restaurants, for example, instead of buying a coffee every morning, get you a coffee maker, some instant or some fast, you know, the Keurigs now, these type, I don't know if y'all can see the one in the background. I shouldn't even be mentioning, they don't pay us. But I make a single cup of coffee. I used to go to Tim Hortons and spend $2 every morning on a cup of coffee. And I'm talking like 7 days a week. You know, I got that thing, I buy 4 dozen cups of coffee for $15. So do the math there. You know, just those type of things are examples of where we can make a difference in our budget. We're not telling you to change your whole life, but my, you know, my $2 a day, $14 a week, do the math. It was adding up to, you know, almost $60 a month I was spending on just a cup of coffee from, you know, a local restaurant for $2. And I was able to cut that down to, you know, now 48 cups of coffee for $15. Those are the type of things that you got to look at your budget, what you're spending, and you make those decisions on where you can save some money. And they don't have to be everywhere. You know, again, I just showed you where you could save $45 a month on something as simple as a cup of coffee. That $45, I ain't saying change everything else. Take that $45 that you saved on that coffee, and that's how you start saving up so that you got that $300 to $1,000 put aside. Right. So now you're in a position where you can start working on your credit by cutting down on some of those credit card bills and getting that credit score up. So it's those type of things that we try to make it simple, and the courses that Dan talked about most definitely can get into more detail. I'm just kicking some basic numbers here for you to have understanding on. You can do it. It's not as hard. No, we're not sitting here on some soapbox telling you something that's not realistic in the real world. It's realistic. We all got something where we can make a change.
So to want to say most,
get started.
She said most of us spend more on things we want than what we need. And we talked
about the American way.
We talked about this in class yesterday about the guns that people buy or just purchasing in general. Mm-hmm. So we make purchases are almost always emotion, and it's based on how we feel. You know, we buy stuff because it make us feel good, and this is no different than why we go out to restaurants, why we buy certain clothes, you know, why we get our hair done. All of these things we do because it makes us feel good. The kind of glasses we wear, everything. So that is true, but you know, we have to do some self-assessing, especially if our financial situation not together. And we got to look at ourselves and be real honest with ourselves about where we want to be. So I think that's what's most important, is taking that look into where we are compared to where we want to go. And then, you know, we'll make the necessary sacrifices along the way if we serious about, you know, the goals we set for ourselves. And I think that's where, you know, we got to start, is knowing where we are and also pointing to a direction for where we want to go. I think
that's so key. I mean, I'm gonna repeat that. So first of all, you got to figure out where you at. Like we said, sit down with the budget and determine where the money's going. Try to get down to the cent if you can. Mm-hmm. And then, okay, where do you want to go? What's your goal? If you happy with, you know, every penny coming in, going right back out, you feel like, you know, you can't breathe. If you haven't been on a vacation or even thought about going on a vacation because money too tight for it, mm-hmm. But that's something you know, thought was just for the rich and famous, you know, whatever the goal is, you got to set that goal and have a roadmap to get there. You know, and this is for the people, again, if everything is great in your life and, you know, when you get paid, you just put it in, you know, under your mattress and all your bills are paid, then, you know, this conversation not for you. Call me later. I got some questions and I need a favor. But for those of you who are, you know, feeling like, man, sometimes the bills get to here, you feel like you're drowning in them. You frustrated at night, can't sleep. Right. You know, these are some quick things that you can start doing to help out. And for those of you that, you know, are going through being unemployed and that other stuff that we were talking about earlier with, you know, sending your kids back to school and all of that, trust me, we know that that's taking up the majority of your mind right now. But if you have any type of income coming in and you are in a situation where you can maintain, you know, you can start those things. But we understand that everybody's not going to be in a situation right now during this current pandemic.
I would even say this: if you struggling with money and you can't pay all your bills, it's time to put them in order of priority, because I've been there before.
Yes.
And I've been in this situation where, you know what, everybody ain't getting paid. So your rent is first. That's the first thing you should always pay, to make sure you got a roof over your head. Make sure the utilities are paid. Make sure your grocery bill is paid. Make sure your water is paid. You know, the necessities. And then if you got cable, and you might have to cut the cable off, or you might need to turn the phone off. You might need an Obama phone or something. You know, you need communication, but you don't need the latest Android or iPhone, because now we talking about priorities, and your priorities need to be in order. So, and then if you got credit cards, you go down the list. You know, you pay down your budget, and when you run out of money, hey, you just, when they call asking you, you know, you didn't pay us, you tell them, you know, you didn't make the cut this month. I'll put you on the top of the credit card bill next month. you know, and let them know you got a system going and they under the budget this month. That's how it works. Everybody can't get paid if you don't have the money, and it ain't no reason to lose no sleep over that.
Just to back up just for a second here, because for any young listeners or people that have youngers at home, you know, getting ready to be out here in society, because these things we're kind of going over in broad brush, but some he said just now made me think about it is explaining that, you know, for people, as we said, who are in a situation where you really, you know, not able to make ends meet. You feel like, or not feel like, you're in a situation where you're not able to make ends meet. Understand that, as we found during this pandemic, reach out to these creditors and explain to them your situation, and let them know that you know, you'll make payments whatever your budget will allow. You know, just because you got this $500 balance with this credit card and you stressing out because the minimum payment is, you know, $85. You know, if you can't get them $85, get them $10 and tell them that's all you got right now, and you know, just deal with it like that. So for the younger listeners out there, know that you can call and you can make arrangements with these companies for payments. You know, and by law, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll get the financial people on, we'll get some clarification. But by law, you know, if you're making some type of payment, it shouldn't affect your credit,
Right.
in the sense of late payments, because you are attempting to do something. So don't always feel like you need to try to pay those bills at the exact amount like that. Reach out to those people. You'll be amazed that a lot of them will actually work with you, and especially right now. You know, right now, if you're not reaching out to your creditors and saying you need some help under this current situation,
Right.
most definitely something you want to start doing. Reach out to them, because they got funding from the government as well when this pandemic started.
Yeah, don't ignore those phone calls when if somebody if you can't pay somebody, just call and tell them. That way they won't have to call you, and then you won't have to avoid, you know, the creditor call. Just give them a call and tell them, you know, you below the budget. So I mean, you know, that's just the situation. You know, if you in that situation, that's what it is, and they gonna have to deal with it. Or you know, they want to be on top next month, then you know they'll talk to you right. You know, and there's always, you know, if you run into a complete dire situation where you completely insolvent, then you have to file bankruptcy, and then that'll be on your credit for 10 years, and it'll prevent you from doing some things, but not all things. So keep that in mind.
Right. You know, and it just kind of made me laugh talking about dodging creditors, not picking up the phone. Oh, excuse me. Not picking up the phone, but funny quick story. You know, a relative of mine got the bright idea of a bill collector, kept calling and calling. He went so far as to pick the phone up and start talking to him. And then in the background, he staged a commotion, all fictional, nothing was actually going on. And even went so far as to, you know, making it seem like he had even been knocked out or even killed to try to get this bill collector from calling him. And,
Yeah.
you know, and came back to the phone to listen to see if the guy was still there. He's like, "Come on, man, don't try that dying crap on me. You still owe us the money." So, you know, I'm trying to be funny here, but in all reality,
Yeah.
folks, you can't avoid them. You know, these bill collectors. You know, it's unfortunate that you know had to get in the situation that put you there, but there is hope. You can get out of it, but don't try faking your own death. That won't work.
That's like Stu falling down the stairs and coming to America.
Right.
You still do.
Exactly. So, you know, just, you know, take that into consideration. And again, these things are things that are big changes in your life that we're suggesting. If you're feeling like you're at a point where things are just overwhelming, those are some of the things that you'll be amazed they will make you feel a little bit better and help you out.
Yeah.
But
And
you
I've
got
been
to
through
regret and understand where you're going.
yeah. I've been through the ringer before, which is why I know about all these financial people and all these financial situations. I was in a lot of credit card debt before. I had bill collectors calling, and I was ignoring some of them, and some of them I would talk to, and then I would just hang up on some of them. I've had all of those fights before, and I learned to not ignore them because you know, some of them will actually sue you, and you know, you can garnish your wages. So you don't want stuff like that to kind of happen if you in a financial bind, like where you need some help. You know,
That's
just
why you need to communicate.
yeah, if you get so overwhelmed where you can't pay the bill, then you know, you may have to file bankruptcy. But if you can pay your bills, then pay your bills, because that's just the responsible and route to go to take care of, you know, money that you spent. So like I've been through all of it. I've been through all the creditor phone calls, letters, and disputes I've had to make over the years to different creditors about things. And um I think that, you know, just sitting here, just kind of us talking about it, you know, kind of taking me back down that lane. I think that um I don't want people to feel like, you know, there's no hope or there's nothing you can do. There is a process you can do to get out of that debt, and it may take some time, but it also takes a lot of discipline. And you can get back on your feet. But again, like if you just completely you have no money and you just can't pay stuff, then you got to give things up. So and then you may have to, you know, go that route where you have to file bankruptcy, and again, that'll haunt you for 10 years on your credit, and it'll prevent you, banks or other financial institutions, from loaning you money or giving you access to capital you may need later. Even though you're in a better financial situation, they'll still use that bankruptcy against you to prevent you from getting things. So if you can avoid it, I would say to avoid it at all costs.
Absolutely. And that's some good information today, man. I always like to, sit down and talk to you. It had been over a week since we had sat down before.
Mm-hmm.
We had a few guests that weren't able to make it for different reasons. But just, glad to be back on here
Mm-hmm.
and really hope that the things we talk about, we try to look at it, as we talked about on other podcasts. We try to make sure people understand that we're looking at this from where we've been to where we at and where we're trying to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, people look at us and say, these guys made it. And every day off camera, we talk about how, man, we can't wait until we make it, and talk about things we're going to do to try to make it.
Right.
So,
Right.
It's kind of like that caricature I saw where a guy was talking about, man, he wish he didn't have to catch the bus, and there was a guy next to him like, man, I wish I could walk. You
Right.
complain about catching the bus, and I'm sure people know what I'm talking about, but just know that people are at different points in their life right now, and if whatever point you at in your life right now, if you feel like there's someplace else you're trying to get to and maintain, just know you got to put in the work. It take time, and you didn't get. And if you're in debt, you didn't get in debt overnight. You're not gonna get out of it overnight. And I think sometimes that's where people lose hope, is that they get so far behind, and it's understandable. We all been there. You feel like you can't get back right. You can just you got to take small bites and just chew on it. And keep working on it. We can't reiterate that enough what we're talking about, because like I say, we've been there, and when we say we've been there, we've been at other levels where some of you may feel that ain't nobody on the level I'm on right now. Ain't nobody out here as messed up as I am right now. No, trust me. I've been out there where I did not know how I was going to eat and pay the bills next week, and had to figure it out.
Man, I remember drinking a lot of water all day and eating off Burger King dollar menu at one point in my life. And I would think like I'll wake up late. So, if I drink water between 10 and 1, like by the time I eat this dollar burger, I could drink some more water and it'll last me until tonight, and maybe I'll get a honey bun or something, because I can get them two for $1. I was living like that, you know what I'm saying? And just, trying to spend as little as I could to kind of get by. So, and people don't always know that, you go through shit and you deal with things, because we don't tend to place our burdens in other people's laps. Because, I think thinking of, as part of being a man, you don't really go to people and ask for help. You kind of deal with it and go through it. And that's how I approached a lot of times in my life. But when I didn't have something, I just dealt with it. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't ask for help. But a lot of people out there, if you need some real help, there's nothing wrong with asking people for help if you need it, and and they know you working and trying to get yourself together. People will help you. So don't think that people won't extend, some help to you if you really need it, because people are not that shitty. They actually will help you if you ask for it. And I know that it may hurt your pride or whatever, but if you out here struggling, yeah, you'll get past it, and you'll come out of that situation way better than you went in, if you realize that all you had to do was say something. Like I didn't have to eat dollar cheeseburgers. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have reached out to anybody and asked, like, I'm hungry, I don't have anything, or go over and just, ask for a meal or whatever the case. You don't have to suffer. So I think that, I think we got to get past, being in our feelings and not wanting to reach out to people. It's okay to reach out for people if you're struggling. And people will help you in the right direction if they know you're sincere and they know that your heart in the right place and you want to do the right thing.
Right. Those of you that shake your head like, no, I didn't ask for it. They didn't throw it up in my face or this, that.
Yeah. And you got to be careful, because people will do that.
Learn, move on.
Yeah, people.
I'm not saying it don't affect you, but you know what? You learn something from that individual.
Yeah.
You can't take back what transpired. Don't hold on to it. You know what? Whatever it was that you learned from it, know that was the value and that was the lesson.
Right. Yeah, people will hold it over you if they can.
And you can't lose sleep over that. I will tell you, you can put yourself in a situation where you don't need that assistance from that individual, but life is too short, and I won't get on the soapbox on that. I won't use the soapbox for that today on Soapbox Sunday, but just know, folks, he bring up a good point, and we talking about this because there are people right now who have never experienced what they're going through. There are people who are going on unemployment or are on unemployment right now for the first time in their lives, and don't know, what they're gonna do when this is over. Because as we talked about at the start of this, they've got kids that they don't feel comfortable sending back to school in person, or they don't feel comfortable even sending them to daycare or to a babysitter, or being at home, just whatever the situation is. People are going through things right now that they've never experienced before, and we get and understand that. But while you have this downtime, we want to keep your mind focused on, number one, figuring out where you at and where you want to go. And right now people got a lot of idle time, and unfortunately, I know, because I've been a victim of it too. When you get this idle time, you use it to just worry. You worry about worrying. You wake up worrying. You can't sleep at night worrying. And I'm not saying that it's just snap of the finger type of thing, but start making some notes on where you at right now. If it's writing it down, if it's speaking it into your voice to text on your device, whatever way you need to do to figure out where you at, whether it's financially, even mentally, as best as you can. It's hard to self-assess your mental stability, but if you ain't what you normally are, that. Assess these things, get them written down, and then try to reach out to some people who genuinely will try to help you. And even if not, that you don't feel you have somebody for that, getting that information documented will be beneficial to you to help you, even if it's just you looking at it and going over it a couple of times. Some great points, though.
Mm-hmm. So let me
Man,
ask this to the people in the comment section. Is it anything that y'all interested in talking about right now that we didn't cover or anything like that? Let us know.
for sure. While they gathering their thoughts, man, for anybody who been on here or joined after we started, real quick, let's go through how the listeners can get in touch with us and who we are again.
Again, we are Athena Protection Service. We provide security services for persons or business, and you can give us a call at 800-951-4866, 1-800-951-4866, or you can reach us on any social media platform at Athena Protection Service.
Right. We had briefly talk about and this is kind of a change of pace, but talk about I didn't even prep this with Dan, so my apologies as we move into this. But yesterday we had opportunity to facilitate a CPL class for some students and some interesting things. I'll start off with the current situation on ammunition for firearms right now. And I'm sure this is a national shortage, but there is a very, very limited supply of ammunition out there, people. We talk about staying safe and being able to protect your family and things of that nature. If you can get a hold to ammunition for your firearms at this point, collect as much as that as you can afford to collect, because not only is it in limited supplies, the prices have tripled. Those things. So it was an eye-opening experience for us just the past few weeks, which almost makes it, very tough to facilitate a class and keep the price at, even, within reason of what we normally would charge. So just wanted to talk about that briefly and just say that I think people are really concerned about where we're going as a country under this current pandemic. And I'll say, and this is where I'm climbing up on the box. I'll say that, I'm one of those individuals where, and, we brush over politics briefly all the time on this podcast. And I'll just say that I'm one of those people that when it comes to politics, I listen to both sides. For example, in the presidential election, I look at both candidates, and I look at, the social media and and the news channels and things of that nature that we know traditionally favor one candidate over another or one, party over another. And the reason I do that is because I want to get a feel for what other people are thinking. Now, some of you are like, who gives a damn what other people are thinking? But I say this because I also am trying to assess and get a feel for the climate of the environment that we live in. So if I'm over there looking at the side of it that I don't agree with, and I'm getting an idea of, what's their hot points and what's bubbling up, that helps me to better prepare and move within what my personal beliefs are politically, and help me to understand people that I may come encounter with who have those different beliefs, so I know how to move and understand what I'm saying, so I know how to deal with the people on either side of it, because we talk about knowing where you at, knowing where you want to go. I feel like I have to know where, and I don't even want to use the word say enemy because it's not that serious. We all here in America, and you would think that, we would be able to coexist, but without getting into that topic, we know that's not the case. So just really having an understanding from both sides so that I know how to maneuver and have a better understanding. And I would recommend everyone do that. And within doing that, you will be amazed. And sometimes if you just really listen, you might actually hear something that you didn't necessarily agree with before and make you say, well, let me maybe look at that again. Now, folks, hear me out. I'm not saying that by any means to justify anything that has happened with any particular candidate or even existing person in office, justifying any of that. No, I'm not, or even suggesting that I believe any of that. I'm just saying some of the reporting that you get when you only listen to the side that's telling you what you want to hear, or so you think, you have to really be careful and just double check and see what the other side is saying and what they think. Not saying you're going to agree with it, but just be aware of it. If that
I'm with
makes sense to anybody out there, anybody got a comment or a question on what I just said, please let me know because hopefully I was clear on what I was trying to get across there. Without turning into I almost keep wanting to use the term "know your enemy," and that's probably not the right way to phrase
But
it.
that's how that you want to say that because that's how news organizations phrase it. It's kind of like a divide and conquer situation,
Exactly.
um,
Okay.
where they have people pitting one side against the other, like a Republican against a Democrat. Uh, and I think we need to be a little bit careful of that because these sides do cater to uh, their own talking points and their own ideals, and all the time, democratic policies do not benefit people that vote democratically. So that's one thing, and I think most of the Republicans, the values of the party, I would say that most people identify with those, but they don't identify with the people that's in the party. So it kind of turn them off a little bit. So I do think it's a benefit to looking at a Fox News and looking at an MSNBC, so to speak, which are the two extremes of the spectrum when it comes to political uh, news coverage, because MSNBC will cover all of the crime that Trump is being investigated for while Fox won't. But Fox will report that the COVID testing is grossly inaccurate, which it has been, but MSNBC won't cover that because they're trying to paint a negative narrative against the president and the coronavirus. So, but you may not know that if you don't watch both stations, or you're not familiar with the messages
Great
that's being put
point.
across. So I think it's always important to know what the other is saying and identify political plays when they happening, like with the president signing, the unemployment thing through executive order, and the Congress not being able to do what they were sent there to do and come up with a plan to make sure that people are covered for unemployment because they control the federal budget. The president does not. So there's a question, and if he can even do what he attempted to do through executive order. So that remains to be seen. But I will say that, we always should be aware of what's going on politically and what is happening, with the money and the different things that's being allocated for unemployment or different programs that's going on. But this whole thing, the Republicans offering something they know the Democrats not going to take, and then Trump stepping in, and that's all just political games being played to make his base and him look good and make it look like they were trying when they really wasn't.
Exactly.
And Democrats will do the same thing, and they'll step in front of the camera and say everything to their base to make them look good when it was all a game in the first place. And we have to recognize that and make sure that these people are doing what we sent them there to do, or replace them when it's time to vote, whether it's Republican or Democrat. Don't be married to a particular party or married to particular ideas unless they benefit, you or the community as a whole. And we kind of got to look at these policies and these people and make sure that they on par with what it is that we actually need to be taking place in the communities and in the neighborhoods that need the most help, that's not getting that help federally or locally. So it's just my take on it.
Right. And without getting further into the political aspect of it, because we got a lot of work ahead of us there. I say just within our community, we need to be aligning ourselves to do a better job at demanding what's going to be beneficial to our communities from politicians, regardless of who you vote for. We most definitely got our work cut out there. But my point, and thank you for that input, because that's exactly where I was trying to go with it. My point was just I wanted to make sure that I wasn't trying to turn it into, just a, a war type of thing against one side against the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I was careful with my words, not trying to say it, but you educated me and enlightened me that the media actually calls it that. So
Mm-hmm.
that was eye-opening for me and hit, helps bring home my point that I was trying to make with it.
Right.
So some good stuff there, man. I know I'm most definitely interested to see what's going to happen moving forward, kind of shifting gears here, but moving forward with sports in the country. Are we going to have a football season? And how much of that football season is going to be tainted with whether or not football players should be kneeling or not, and this one didn't kneel and this one did, and all of that craziness. And if we even gonna get a chance to go to a stadium and see a football game again, and just I say that because we're
that may not happen this season.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go if they even did allow it. I'm talking about just in general, or
yeah.
are these outdoor, large gathering events, are they, and it sounds crazy to inquire at this point, but are they a thing of the past for the immediate future? How long is going to be long enough before you feel comfortable, going and sitting at a barn having a meal and, having a few beverages? I can't see myself being comfortable doing that for a while, in large gatherings. I'm not saying I won't, entertain smaller groups and try to be as safe as possible, but being in the smaller groups mean less opportunities for things to be spread. But yeah, not to get off too far into that, but just interesting kind of, as a huge sports fan, especially of football, basketball.
I haven't even watched the basketball game yet. So
it's funny, I had it on in the background until it went off. They had San Antonio and Memphis was on earlier. I'm sorry, the Pelicans were on earlier and got a chance to see Zion play. But yeah, it's tough. It's because it's not what I'm used to. The setup looks AAU like, or maybe like international play. So just getting used to the way the court is, and of course no fans. It is cool every now and then if you get the opportunity to view a game. They have these monitors where people are actually tuning in just like we are via, Zoom or, other type of sharing media. And you'll see just about anybody might be sitting there watching the game. I saw Lil Wayne watching the game the other day, and they try to sprinkle in, and everybody's watching it, but they'll change the people on the screen so you can see different people who are watching it, on their computers or whatnot. So I thought that was kind of cool, but it's not the same as having fans in there.
Right.
The opposing team need to be getting yelled at. They star player, you need that heckler in the crowd calling them a bum and all of that. You just won't get that in the bubble. It's kind of interesting to see that, the change in sports right now in society.
Okay.
Did you get any comments in the comment field?
Not really. There's not a lot of talking going on. We got Tawana coming back. We enjoyed it. So thank you, Tawana, for joining us today and listening to us get on our soapbox about money and sports and coronavirus and politics. We kind of went all over the place today, but that's kind of what we do.
Right. And the last thing, talking about being all over the place, but this is just going to wrap it up. And we talk about it every week. We even afford any of you out there, to have a business that you are promoting. to get in contact with us. We'd love to promote your business. If you don't want to come on, just give us the way we can get in touch with you. We'll put that information out there for people to help you with your business. But with that being said, I've been seeing a lot of young ladies and young men out here that are being creative in this change that we went through. And I just want to, say hats off to you and continue to, chase your dreams. Um, I'm seeing just in our own personal family, seeing quite a few of my cousins out there. I call y'all my little cousins because all y'all my little cousins because I'm older than all of y'all. Just want to shout out to them. Reg, if you can get them some individual or get them all on there. I don't even know all this social medias, but I didn't even know our cousin Nikki has an eyelash line as well as look like some apparel. I don't know if it's just promoting that. Her sister Tiff has a makeup line, look like lip gloss, some awesome products. She's shipping it all over the country. We got a couple of other cousins. I know we actually had Lolo the model on here promoting her products. I seen her sister is doing, she's a beautician as well as she makes wigs. She's promoting her product. And I just had a conversation with our cousin, Lil Larry, as we like to call him, or the fellas, we call him G, but our auntie Von Nene, you know who you are, her oldest boy, he's really taking off with his videography. He's into that. He's actually got some projects that are going to be on the big screen, as well as some things that he's doing. So won't take away from his shine on that, but just want to shout out to people I know personally. And I'm sorry, I'm sure some other you out there I forgot. So get in touch with me. I'll make sure I remember. But a lot of these individuals are doing their thing. Shout out to you. And I'm sorry, she'll kill me. I can't believe my oldest stepdaughter Kiera's who's she'll kill me. She see that she's up and coming musician. I'm sorry, not musician, artist in the music industry, as well as dance. She's danced in some major concerts with some individuals and done really nice as well. She started a line of products as well that she's makeup that she's promoting right now, doing makeup. So they call them MUAs, makeup artists. So shout out to her and her doing that. And keep doing what you're doing. Follow your dreams. If you have opportunity, and these are all individuals. Now, one of these people that I mentioned have tons of funds were just afforded to them. They scraped up and saved. They had an ideal, just like we have an ideal, and they worked at it. The success has not been overnight.
Right.
Continue to strive to be better. And I'll tell anyone out there, it's not easy, but it's also not as hard as you may think with the amount of platforms you have available to get what it is you're trying to offer out there, whatever it is. So continue to do what you do and be the best at it. I'll continue praising you all. I'm proud of every one of you. And again, I'm so sorry for anybody that I forgot about. Make me not forget the next time. Get on me. Reach out to me. Man, you didn't say nothing about me and what I'm doing over here. And, if you're not ready for it to be public, we get it. But for those of you that's out there selling product, our cousins, those girls down south from the Dirty, Kenedra and Nene and Deborah, they've got
clothing.
They do so much. They're my Jamaican cousins, but right now they've also got a clothing line that they're promoting and pushing. Got product. They actually were here in Metro Detroit, had a pop-up shop. Looked like it went very well. So congratulations. Like I say, man, we got a lot of people right in the media family. Just give them a quick shout out. Continue doing what you're doing, folks. We love you.
All right, man. Seemed like we had a good discussion today. I appreciate everybody in the comments for coming through and watching us and hanging out and talking with us and providing, your insight in the comment section as you always do. We appreciate that support and the communication between each other and with us as we discuss these different topics, that concern all of us. So, thank you again, everybody, for tuning in and hanging out with us today.
And one last thing, we talk about finances all the time, and we talk about people not being able to get back to work. Dan and I both personally have some opportunities that are available to you if you're looking to make some money as early as tomorrow. So get in touch with us. Reach out to us through the social media platforms that we've shared with you. Again, and I'll tell you right off the bat, is not anything that's going to take nothing but whatever amount of effort you want to put into it, and you can start making money as early as tomorrow. So for those of you that haven't figured out what it is you want to do, but know you need to do something, get in touch with us. We've got a surefire way to start making some money as early as tomorrow. So get in the inbox and we'll share with you how you can do that. And there's even some big bonuses available to you as a startup and the opportunities. So shout out to us. But thanks again, man. I'll be in touch with you. Everybody have a great week. We didn't talk about it in detail, but continue to stay safe. If you're not going to wear a mask, be careful. Try to distance yourself and don't go out if you don't need to. But everybody, please continue to stay safe. This virus is not over. Don't forget about it.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. And like he said, if you ain't wearing a mask, respect the people that's wearing them.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll see y'all next week. Hopefully, we'll have another good session where we can have a conversation. If anybody want to hear anything in particular, let us know if y'all want to talk about something. All right.
Sure.